the Creighton Elementary School District Governing Board, the regular meeting for August 20th of 2013. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I am going to ask Ms. Stephanie DeBar to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the roll call show that all governing board members are present, as are all members of cabinet. I would like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting and remind the audience of the request to address board cards that must be completed and submitted to the board secretary, Ms. Hilda Juarez, over here, if they wish to speak to an agenda item. Board policy provides for 2 cards, white cards to be submitted in order to speak to a specific agenda item, and blue cards to be submitted in order to speak during public comments. Policy also states that there is a 5-minute maximum time limit per speaker. Due to the open meeting law, board members are not allowed to address items that are not on the agenda. If you do not want to address the board but wish to give your comments in writing, you may do so on a goldenrod sheet, and all members will receive a copy. With that, do I have a motion to approve our agenda?
I move the governing board approve the agenda as presented.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved. There are no minutes to approve at this time. Public comments, I see none. Hilda, we have none. So we will move right into the superintendent's report, Dr. Boyle.
Good evening, everyone, governing board. Thank you for your participation at our board meeting this evening, 2 people in the audience. This evening, one of our presentations is going to be after-school programs, and so I thought this would be a good time to remind everyone that for over several decades, Creighton School District has been the beneficiary of after-school programs with the City of Phoenix. And they have made a significant impact on our sites to support students for those hours after school until around 6 p.m. When the funding, when we lost funding not only in districts but in other areas, the City of Phoenix cut back dramatically on their after-school programs. In fact, at one time, out of our 9 schools, 8 of our schools had the after-school programs supported by the City of Phoenix. And at one time, as we were doing year-round school too, the City of Phoenix helped neighborhoods, families, sites in our district in supporting child care during the weeks of intercession. So we've always felt supportive and appreciative of the support that the City of Phoenix has given us on our after-school programs. Several years ago, Larry C. Kennedy was the school that survived the cuts, and Loma Linda soon after became an after-school program. So very slowly over the past several years, the City of Phoenix has found additional resources to support Creighton School District. Last year, Gateway, Larry C. Kennedy, and Loma Linda had after-school programs. There was an opportunity this summer to write for grants and to support new sites with after-school, and we're happy to announce that our 3 PAC programs, sponsored by the City of Phoenix, have increased by 2 more, and Biltmore Prep and Excellencia now do have after-school programs. The other significant thing is that although some of our sites do not have after-school programs at their site because the funding level hasn't risen that dramatically, our students whose parents want them to have this after-school support are transported by our transportation department and can take or make use of those services. For example, Biltmore Prep has a program now this year, and students from Monte Vista, if their parents are interested, can be have transportation to Biltmore Prep. Likewise, I believe it's Creighton and, help me, Sean, Creighton and, no, you're the school, Gateway, but who would have, I don't understand.
They come to us, Craig comes to us.
I know, but who else?
Papago can walk if they choose.
Okay, so what I, thank you.
Mackin is an excellent school.
Thank you very much. So my point was that other sites who may not have a program do have opportunities to have after-school classes. So with that, I thought that report was important for the board to know, and with that, I'll close and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boyle. The consent agenda items, is there a motion to approve them?
I move the governing board approve consent agenda item A through D in accordance with policy BEDB-R. I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda items are approved, and we move into education services and the Arizona K-12 Center presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Jewett.
Yes.
Superintendent Boyle and members of the board. Thank you so much for allowing us to come to address you this evening. My presentation, I am aiming to keep my remarks brief. Please feel free to stop me at any point if you have questions along the way, or I will open the floor at the end if you have questions. My goal is to just give you a little preview of some of the services that you need to be able to provide your teachers to help with that in-class instruction, to complement all the extracurricular stuff going on, and hopefully will lead to a partnership in which we can come back out and speak again more specifics and maybe to some of your current principals.
Thank you, and can you please introduce yourself as well?
Thank you for reminding me to introduce myself. Sir, my name is Elena Adams, and I am at heart an 11th grade English teacher. I've been with the Arizona K-12 Center for about a year, just a little over a year now. And I was an 11th grade English teacher in the DH Union High School system. I was also a department chair at Maryville High School for 4 years of their English department, right in the middle of Common Core revisions and teacher evaluation. We piloted TAP, the Real Grant, you name it. I've probably got some experience there. So I'm really excited to just lay out a few items for you. You have a folder in front of you. I have about 4 slides. I may point to a few of those items that are in there for your perusal. First and foremost, we are an organization, a nonprofit. We're technically part of NAU, the College of Education, and we were established by Governor Jane Hall in 1999 to provide quality professional development that's created by teachers, for teachers, part of the teacher prep program, to work in partnership with individual school campuses, to work in partnership with districts, and to be kind of an independent place where teachers can come into our training space as well to take advantage of some of our professional development opportunities. So because we are technically part of NAU, and they run our funding streams, we can afford to offer quality professional development at nice prices on teacher salaries or within very tight budgets, especially when it comes to Title I and Title II funding. We know that those are not unlimited pots of funding, so we aim to help you. So if in your folders you'll see a calendar with Avalon. It's a beautiful apple time. And so any event that you could possibly want as a teacher is probably in here. Specifically, our professional development revolves around 4 strands. We have our learning strands where you're going to find a lot of your Common Core trainings, Common Core math trainings and Common Core literacy trainings really dominate our professional development calendar this year because of the need, especially when it comes to text complexity and that spiral of the Common Core and some of the fun items that are coming out. We also have technology events. We have some tech camps. We have a mobile learning conference coming up. And then we have our leadership strand, which centers around teacher evaluation and our national course certification programs under that. Specifically, we have pulled out 2 items connected to learning and technology that may be most immediately helpful to teachers in Creighton. And those 2 items are on the left side of your folder. You have one that says mobile, it's got a picture of a hand on it. That is a technology conference. It's just coming up, but there are lots of other technology events on that calendar. And this one is the hot tamale of the folder. It's your Common Core menu of trainings that can help with those literacy and math trainings that I mentioned. And so I can provide electronic copies of that to you if you'd like. We have partnered with several school districts and even the ABE. We're bringing some joint professional development. They're coming to some of our events and we're coming to some of their events around literacy, because the idea, and it's the reason I'm here, is to try to work smarter instead of harder. We can all partner together to bring quality professional development to teachers, especially in our urban core, then that's what we aim to do. And so I know that I'm glossing over a lot of this information. I can talk to you at length about how great some of these trainings are, but my aim is to really just give you an overview of information and then have some deeper conversations later. Specifically connected to leadership, we have two other items in your folder. They're on the right side and they're chunkier. One of them is called the In-Task Continuum Guide. Teacher evaluation. If you didn't already overhaul your teacher evaluation instrument, it probably meant you had a really good one, right? That had all of the in-task standards embedded in them. When that legislation changed, we wanted to create a way for teachers to evaluate their own practice. We wanted them to have a guide. So we assembled 29 board-certified teachers and other stakeholders from the education community, and we wrote a continuum guide. So in the guide, you'll see prompts. You'll see the in-task standards written verbatim, and then you'll see some prompts that teachers have written, some questions they can ask themselves to see, is what I'm doing in the four walls of my classroom really measuring up to these in-task model for teaching standards. And it's also a nice tool for instructional coaches when they're coaching teachers, and for evaluators, administrators, when they're coming in to do evaluative work. There are some nice questions and a continuum in here that can complement whatever it is that you're doing for teacher evaluation in your district. We see this used a lot with those newest to our profession, our first and third year teachers, and there's an individual professional development plan, which is kind of the workbook that our teachers can reflect on their practice. If there was something that I needed to turn in to my coach or evaluator that reflects my thinking, this might be a nice tool for that. And so they go hand in hand. But we have a very brief podcast that is available on our website that I'd like to show you that can really explain those two pieces a lot better than I can. So without further ado.
The Standards Continuum Guide for Reflective Teaching Practice is a new publication brought to you by the Arizona K-12 Center. New standards are being implemented, the in-task Model Core Teaching Standards. The question for many is, how is it I'm supposed to implement these standards in ways that best serve students? The Arizona K-12 Center crafted a publication to help answer that question. The Standards Continuum Guide for Reflective Teaching Practice. A tool to help decipher and apply the in-task standards for teachers, mentors, coaches, and administrators. A tool to help get everyone in a school focused on meaningful goals and use common language to define and achieve the goals. The in-task Model Core Teaching Standards capture the complexities of teaching in three components of a teacher's practice: essential knowledge, critical dispositions, and performances. Each are a point of reflection and areas where endless growth can take place. Essential knowledge is like a seed that, when fertilized, causes an exponential effect. Evoked through reflective practice, a teacher's articulation of essential knowledge causes it to strengthen and grow. Critical dispositions, our attitudes and beliefs, like roots that keep us grounded. Behind all educators lies a foundation, and when we articulate our critical dispositions, our roots spread and grow. Performances are like our leaves. This is where we show what we know in the classroom. Our essential knowledge and critical dispositions come to bear in the luster of our leaves. In the Standards Continuum Guide for Reflective Teaching Practice are reflective prompts and a continuum. The continuum helps pinpoint where teachers are in meeting the standards. The reflective prompts, being specific to standards, performance, essential knowledge, and critical dispositions, help teachers engage in a reflective process. all to help determine practice that will assist in achieving greater mastery of the standard and moving a teacher toward innovating practice. Teachers are empowered to thoroughly analyze and reflect on the day-to-day decisions made in the classroom, enhancing their potential to influence student achievement. Being that the standards teachers are comparing themselves to in the continuum are also the standards used for evaluation, administrators, coaches, and colleagues can all engage in standards-based discourse using the same document as a guide. No more dog and pony shows without substance, and no more questions about what the evaluations really mean. The in-task standards identify the expertise that is required of a master teacher and help a teacher with room for improvement, that's all of us, to identify areas where we can apply focus. When used in conjunction with an individual professional development plan, teachers stretch themselves and reach for high and attainable goals that improve learning for all. It's not easy work, but it is worth a challenge. And at the end of the day, if the continuum is implemented properly, we can collaborate more effectively, evaluate more efficiently, and see more authentic and holistic growth in our schools. The in-task standards paint a clear and detailed picture of the complexities of teaching and learning. Now we all have to work hard to achieve them. The Standards Continuum Guide for Reflective Teaching Practice is a tool to help.
I just love to see the faces of students, because that's why we're all here. I worked with the superintendent last year in a different school district who said something, and I've been stealing it ever since. And he said that the most important work in any school system is done within the four walls of the classroom. If you're not fortunate enough to be somebody standing within those four walls to do that work, then it's your job to support the people who are. And that's what we're all about. Everything we do really is to support those teachers, because we want to educate them, we want to empower them, because they're on the front line. And so it's one thing to have a range of professional development opportunities for you. It's one thing to have a guide to help teachers engage with the in-task standards, but we know that it goes a little bit further than that. And so two programs that I think you might be the most interested in, and I'll end with these two, are the Arizona Master Teacher Program. And that one was started, and Governor Hull started our organization in 1999, but Janet Napolitano, when she was governor, actually got this master teacher program going. And what she wanted was a way to identify master teachers in Arizona who were not only masters of their content, but who could then teach that content to students and who could work with teachers in that effort. And it started in our rural areas, and it's still in our rural areas, but it has spread to our urban area as well. So we want to make sure that we are retaining our talent. We want to make sure that our newest teachers, we know that high numbers of those within their first, 3 or 5 years, they leave at really high rates. So we want to make sure that we are building in a mentoring layer for these teachers so that they stay. And so that's Governor Napolitano created this master teacher program, and we became the stewards of that program. And so we identify teachers as Arizona master teachers, and we work with school districts who want to identify themselves as a master teacher school district, and we provide some grant funding in order for them to hire those coaches and to work with a ratio of new teachers that are in their first to third year to try to retain and sustain them. And partner with that. And so they go through not only do they help with in-task stuff, but the coaches get training from the new teacher center, and they go through cognitive coaching training, and there are mentor forums in which they can meet with other mentors around the state, and they have their own professional learning community to go in and support those newest to our profession. But we also have attached it to the National Board Certification Program, which is the program I actually run. If you're interested in National Board Certification, I am the National Board Project Director. I run that wing of our office. But what we find is that teachers, when they're supported at the beginning of their continuum during their first to third years, they're not only more likely to stay in the profession, but they get a taste for what that leadership potential can be. And now you're investing in your talent. And so many of them do go on to become National Board Certified Teachers, or to at least engage with those national standards. Because if we're expecting students to engage with Common Core national standards, it's a very relevant time for teachers to be engaging with their national standards. And there has always been a set of national standards, and it was created by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards in response to a nation at risk in 1986. So these national standards have been there. It's always just been kind of a nice feather that teachers could get in their cap, or a nice way to have somebody at the top of that career ladder or salary scale. But we're seeing districts really embrace national board certification, whether it's the full process or just something called Take One, which is one module of that process, as a form of professional development. So we see things like the principal over at Harbor High School has his entire leadership team going through cognitive coaching training. Or the principal at Metro Tech High School is now going to do one piece of that national board process with her leadership team. We've got talks, I think, at the Alhambra Elementary District about using it with professional learning communities. So you've got a 10th grade science team that really wants to know, yes, I get in task and this is really what I know to be good teaching across the board, but I'm a science teacher. I have content specific needs. How do I know that I'm at the top of my game? And the national board process not only meets those 5 core propositions that you've seen in task, but it goes beyond that. And it's very content specific. So as an evaluator, when you're walking into a teacher's classroom who is going through the national board process, who is already a national board certified teacher, you can relax a little and know that they're reaching for that very rigorous content specific set of national standards, and they're going to hit those indicators on their teacher evaluation instrument because they surpass those in-test standards. So we've got support for our beginning teachers through that master teacher program and the coaches and the training that could come with that. But we also have that national board certification piece, and the two are interconnected. We have a master teacher project director. His name is Andrew Ward. He's brilliant, that we would love to get connected with whatever opportunity you think would be a good fit for him. But he can talk to you more specifically about how his program and my program, the national board program, are intertwined and connected and complement each other based on your district goals or based on your site-based goals. And so in your folder, you'll see a brochure about the Master Teacher Program specifically. We also do have some national board information that's provided by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards that I'm happy to put you in touch with as well, should that be interesting to you. And so on that note, I'd like to just let you know that our executive director, Dr. Kathy Webke, was really looking forward to being here today, and she was ill this afternoon, and she does not get ill very often. So we took a vote in the office and we told her to go home because we did not want her to get too stressed out. We need her back. We need our leader. So I want you to know that the business card that is in the folder is actually hers, because she was planning to be here to speak to you tonight. And I just thank you for letting me fill her excellent shoes and kind of give you a little taste of what we're all about. And I encourage you to contact her or to visit us at azk12.org. We'd love to have some informational meetings with you as you see fit. Are there big questions I can answer? Do I have time?
Questions? Yep.
Well, I just would like to say thank you for all the hard work that you do. So I've known Captain for a long time, and I know the fabulous work that the K-12 Center does, and in particular around supporting National Board teachers. You know, I'd love if you wouldn't just mind pontificating for a second about, when we look at this wealth of professional development and opportunities for teachers around the implementation of the core, a significant amount of it is what we consider phase 2 training. Right? We're not marketing it that way in your materials, but the idea of how to translate the standards into instruction.
Right.
And so can you just talk about what you're noticing across the teachers that you're working with around the state, around maybe some of the challenges that you've learned
With Common Core?
Well, the implementation of the instructional shifts. Right, because the standards are one thing, but teaching practices is another thing. And just so that we can learn from your experience, I'd love if you could share maybe 1 or 2 things of challenges that you've seen that are sort of common and ways that classroom teachers have, began to overcome them.
Challenges that we're seeing, I think, with any instructional shift, but specifically now that they're having to not only, you kind of got a double whammy there, not only are they trying to implement these new national standards for their students, but their evaluation, how they're being evaluated has changed. And I think that was just such a lot at once, and it was a paradigm shift for a lot of teachers. And so some ways that we have seen them engaging with that are, well, I'm going to preach national board certification because that's what I do, but we worked with the 2 of the Real Grant districts that were part of that bigger Real Grant, and they were implementing a learning observation instrument that is heavily based on these in-test standards. And what the teachers were really finding, whether they were just doing Take One or whether they were doing the entire process, is I now have a how-to manual for how to know if I'm impacting students. So in following the directions in the portfolio, these big essays that I have to type, I have to attach artifacts, I have to attach videos, I have to attach evidence that I'm actually making an impact. So now I can talk about that 33% growth that I have to make. Now I know I'm making growth. Now that I know I'm making growth, now I can talk about how much growth am I really making to have a how-to guide to do that. So we saw that challenges, it was kind of a scary thing for teachers to open up their classrooms because we know great things are happening in those foxholes, but how do we encourage them to come out? And so using that national board certification process and inserting more layers of the coaching has seemed to really help kind of coax them out into that vulnerable place. Did that even answer your question?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have a couple of questions.
Oh, sure.
I know the voice sounds like it's coming from the back. What is the size and the size of the master teacher and the national board certification program? With the national board certification program, what I've always kind of thought of is that very few teachers have that. So do you have any numbers or ratios or what percentage?
I do. In Arizona, there are about, I think there are 987-ish. I can get you hard numbers. I'll email you if you'd like. But we do have almost 1,000. We'd like to have more than that. National average, we have traditionally been under that national average because there are states like Virginia or Washington State that have really robust state level incentives, and Arizona's just never had that. It's up to individual school districts how they're going to even have a program, how they're going to incentivize the program, and then sustain that program. And so we've really talked about differentiated instruction. We know that that's what's best for kids. When you start to talk about national board programs, every district has such a different support structure in place based on their vision and based on their needs. So I think it's kind of a strength, but the price that comes with that strength is you don't have as high of numbers as NBCT's National Board Certified Teachers as states like Virginia, North Carolina, or Washington State. So if you're looking at the trajectory of how many newly certified teachers there were, I think the national average was a 5% increase, and we were 12. So we doubled so I know that the work we're doing at the center to support whatever numbers of teachers that go through that is an effective program. So we have trained national boards. It's kind of like a teacher army. Like they come back. Not only do they get national board certified, but they want to give back, and they do it for free so often. So they gravitate towards the center. And so we offer them professional development, and they are trained as cognitive coaches, and they go back into their school systems, and they actually support the programs there. Or I can send them to Window Rock, Arizona. I have 2 of them that we're going to give a small little stipend to drive up and work with 8 teachers on the Navajo Nation who really want to go through this process, and they have a board who is supporting them in that. So the possibilities are all over the map, but as far as how big the program is, it really depends on how big each individual district makes that program. We had about a little over 200 people go through the process last year, and about 108 of those actually certified. So our numbers are pretty good.
And then the other thing is, do you have data on how having a mentorship program impacts teacher turnover or retention rate?
As far as like our research team kind of.
Well, maybe not. Maybe it's not your program in particular, but maybe it's more general.
Yeah, I'm sure that there is research that our master teacher project director, Andy Ward, could absolutely follow up and get you some of that information. And we are actually at the meeting tomorrow. We're working with 2 researchers from the National Center for Research and Laura Churchy, who used to be at ASU, and now she's in San Antonio. But they are working to help us analyze our programs in connection to the Master Teacher Program and the National Board Certification Program, so that we know that we're offering the right services, that our services are effective, and how is it really impacting teachers. So we've actually been collecting a lot of that information anecdotally for about 1.5 years now, and we now have the team in place where we're starting to connect those hard dots so that we can provide, so that I can answer those types of questions in these kinds of settings.
Other questions?
So you said that it depends on, the district and how much the district supports teachers. But the Arizona K-12 Center also gives like grant money or scholarship money, correct? And how much is that per year? Like how many teachers would you say you're able to support through that
The
grant?
national board piece or the master teacher piece, or all of it?
I guess separately, and then, yeah.
Okay. So the National Board Program is, even though we're larger than life, we're part of the Arizona Master Teacher grant or program. And so schools that have identified as Arizona Master Teacher schools can use part of those grant monies, not only to help offset, salaries or whatnot for those coaches, but to actually pay for parts of the National Board certification process. So they can use those monies to help both endeavors. And so I want to say that the master teacher ratio is 1 coach per 8 or 15 teachers. So they keep those numbers really manageable because we know that class size absolutely matters. We don't want to overwhelm our coaches, right? And then National Board certification, if we were to take that program separately, the process costs about $2,565 if I was a teacher that wanted to go through it. And so we do offer scholarships in the amount of $1,250, $1,250, and we offer $2,000 scholarships each year. Can we offer scholarships to every teacher in the state that wants them? No. We have about 50 people on our waiting list this year, but we were able to fund over 120, I think, the last count. So we're always looking for Bill Gates or Oprah or outside funders to come sponsor teachers because they want to step up and do this amazing thing, and districts don't always have the money and teachers don't always have the money. So we do what we can with the funding stream that we have. And so did that even answer your question about the numbers that we're able to help support for scholarships?
And it's gone down though in the last year, is that right?
It did. Yes, okay, so there were 2 funding streams in the past. So there was our state money, and that, filtered through NAU and we offer. And then there was federal money that was routed through the ADE. And so we would get together with our liaison at the Department of Education, and we would pool our money to fund as many teachers as we possibly could. And so we worked in partnership with them. And there was a congressional earmark about 2 or 3 years ago. I think TFA, National Board, and something else got cut. And so we've been operating on reserve federal. That half that came from the federal monies is now gone. So we're just left with the state monies, and that's why this year is the first year that we have people on a waiting list for funding, because we just can't. But in thinking about professional development in terms of those PD goals on site or district levels, we're seeing some use of Title I and Title II funding, especially with career ladder kind of fizzling out. We're seeing some creative use of monies that way to use it as professional learning communities training or to meet those site-based goals. So we're all speaking this common language of excellence, and we have evidence of student impact. Because I have to develop this national entity to be scored by a body of my peers. So I'm getting that validation as a person, but as a site or a district, we are getting this national perspective of how our teachers are impacting these kids, and there's evidence to back that up.
So if the school district wanted to, let's say they wanted to look at, I don't know, I saw one about iPads, and I know we have iPads here, but let's say they wanted to have a training on that. You would come to the school site, and then we could use Title I funding to be able to pay. And would it be based on teacher or just the number of hours that master teacher was here during the training, or?
So if you needed anything connected to professional development, you just got a grant and you have a whole bunch of iPads and you want to get some training for your teachers as to how to use them, we would certainly love for you to call us, because we know tech trainers, we're a matchmaking service, if you will. Like, we know where the talent is and we can partner you guys up if it's not something we can do directly and build something called a scope of work. And so you would pay us, we'd set up a PO, and then we would, pay the trainers for you that would do that. If you're looking to do national board certification, we do have programs in which you can just pay directly. The payment varies depending on whether we're using a P card or a PO, or we're using those title monies, but we can build custom scopes of work to go onto campuses, or your teachers can come. We have a training space on Central in Virginia that holds about 54 people, and for events that are much bigger, like a lot of the ones we're offering around Common Core, partnering with the ADE on, we will rent out a conference space like Desert Willow on the Tempe Phoenix board, and we'll make it as big as we can to get all of those teachers access to that. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for coming. You guys do wonderful work, and I look forward to seeing how we can partner with you guys in the future.
Thank you for the work that you do. We really aim to support you guys. So let us know how we can do that. I hope to see you again.
Thank you.
We will move on to our next presentation, which is on after-school program.